All right, folks, in this episode, we're going to talk about feedback of your product and why it may hurt a little bit to hear. We're going to talk about it a little bit in the context of product development in the early stages from the manufacturer, but I think I'll be able to shed a little bit more light from what it feels like from the consumer side. Probably double than what you would normally get, because not only do we get feedback on our products in the form of reviews and customer emails and stuff like that, but when you're doing media, like I'm in charge of, it's like people don't like our media sometimes. Yeah. And it's like, man, this is so subjective. I mean, even people within the company don't like the media sometimes on a very subjective thing, where this is like my whole in and out that I'm responsible for. So it's easy.
Do you have to address it on media as well?
Yeah. You're constantly, well, I shouldn't say constantly, but you are defending your product in a very public space. Often, almost universally, oftentimes where people's own hangups is the problem.
Yeah.
So let's get to that. So let's talk about, you got your baby and you got your financing, your funding, you picked your injection molder, and they're like, hey, your part really can't be this from a structural standpoint, or from, hey, this can't be made situation, and a major change is due for this particular thing. I'm sure you've had to deal with that. Let's just talk through that for a little bit.
When we get designs, we go through a design for manufacturability, and that's when we address all of these potential changes or design flaws that may have been overlooked.
That statement right there could be taken wrong.
Yeah,
hey, you have a design flaw. Your idea has a flaw in it.
I wonder how many people I've made cry on accident. I'm talking to you now.
Well, I mean, look, man, there's a flaw. Is it a flaw with my thinking? Like, you don't like my idea? What's wrong?
Yeah, at the end of the day, as personal it is for you, it's a job for somebody like me. So I just look at it and how are we going to make this successful, right? So we go through the design for manufacturability, and most common issues that, like, there's an undercut. We've talked a little bit about that. Basically, you can't open the tool without completely destroying the part. So you've got to work through some of that with it, but we won't get into the weeds on what exactly those are, what those are, and how you fix them. But yeah, we pick it apart. That's our job. We're supposed to pick it apart.
I've really never thought about it before, but at least in this context, that we have parts that are single shot, it's made. If you have a part that has an undercut that would destroy the part if the mold opened up, that's often a second mold with a second part that would then come together in a different form or fashion via hardware or adhesives, right? More than doubles the cost of your whole thing.
It gets spendy. So that's the stuff we kind of talked through, is like, how do we achieve this functional part without adding exuberant amount of cost to it? Man, I feel bad now thinking about how many times I've just kind of ripped people's hearts out, I'm sure. It's not personal.
Look, we just said in the last episode, it's not personal. You're just trying to get the job done, and you're over there, crushing hearts.
I know. But it has to be done, right? If you don't do it, I mean, then what?
Better for me than somebody else.
Yeah, we can always just cut the tool and not have a functional part too. So better to have that feedback up front, right? But yeah, it is our job, and not necessarily mine, but it is an engineer's job to go through and really analyze and be hypercritical.
And from my dealings with engineers, they have zero bedside manner.
I love my engineers.
Yeah. I was about to say, take it easy. Maybe they do have feelings. To make sure your parts are fixed, again, you're dealing with very tired, very busy, very talented people, but there's often not a whole lot of patting people's heads and holding your hand through the process. This is business. You're a business owner. Things get rough.
I'd rather have it come from engineers than on your side. Yeah. And the customers just going to town on Yelp reviews, and not Yelp, but just
whatever
website reviews.
Well, and
every once in a while I get a nice little phone call from Nick.
Because I'm sharing the reviews. Let's switch over to, you've got the feedback from the manufacturer, whatever. maybe you had some parts 3D printed. They're ready to go out to some beta testers or some field testing or other types of prototypes that's not 3D printed, that's not quite up to spec, not quite up to strength. They go out, they could immediately get broke, they could immediately get mishandled. It's the first time somebody in that particular trade or whatever the case may be.
Oh, I got one. I got a good example of this.
Table it for a second.
Okay.
But it gets in these hands of these people for the first time outside of your very tight little bubble at this point.
Yeah.
And you're saying, hey, I can take it. Be honest. Let me know what you think. And then they rake you over the coals, and you're like, all of you. You don't want to deal with them because they've just shit all over your project.
Yeah. As much useful information out of that, because there is something there, right? I mean,
it's going to be the reaction from other people that really don't like you.
Yeah. So take it as a positive opportunity to take some real good, obviously unbiased feedback. Obviously unbiased if they're being that critical. So, and use it in your benefit. But talking about, sorry, I got to tell a quick story.
Yeah, tell your example.
On prototypes that aren't up to, strength. So this was a 3D printed part, and these were going to be used for photography. So very pretty, like you saw them. I showed you last night, the little containers.
They weren't for a photographer, they were for product shots.
Correct.
Okay, all right.
So, but you know what parts I'm talking about. It's got a lid, and it's got a little living hinge on it, like if you think like living hinge for a ketchup bottle, ketchup top. Snaps open, snap close. It's the one
but one continuous part.
Right. One of my suppliers with me, meeting with the customer, and that living hinge isn't the strongest thing in the world, but right now they're all connected. And so we wanted some connected and some closed. So for the product shots, you can show it open, show others closed. First thing he does is just goes and breaks it. And I didn't say anything. I didn't say anything in front of the customer. I was just like, it's fine. We can clean that up, and that'll just be a closed canister. He called me a couple days later. He's like, hey man, sorry for breaking that prototype. I said, no, it's fine. It was just $1,200. And he goes, was it really? I said, yeah, this is a $1,200 part. He goes, I just broke a $1,200 part and you didn't say anything? I said,
what are you going to do?
Yeah, I'm not going to sit there and throw a fit. Like, it'll be fine. But yeah, it was $1,200. So when you have 3D printed parts, just be aware that they're going to break. Sometimes I've had them break in shipping. So when you send that out, just make sure your customers or beta testers, whoever knows, this is like, don't manhandle this thing, because it's going to break.
Also, we've had to do this because a lot of times we're like, we need video or pictures of it in the field so we can see how it is. Mm-hmm. I real quickly learned that you have to be like, put your camera like this, put your settings like this, don't shoot it at night, make sure it's not in the shadows, and like all this stuff to like, because we would get pictures back totally unusable. You couldn't see any detail. I didn't verify that they didn't have a good phone or a good camera or whatever, and then we were just getting garbage back from what would have been a great test with great people with very fair feedback, but we had to go through the process again because they shot it in a weird format or whatever.
Yeah.
So, yeah, and people oftentimes, we've had them take a prototype and then they've fixed it for us and made modifications to fit their particular need. I'm like, no, man, this is not what we're asking you to do. So it's a lot of conversations from your side to your beta testers so they don't mess stuff up.
I guess in saying all that, kind of brings me to a point of like, when they criticize, just know they have a completely different perspective. So
100%.
Don't freak out. Don't freak out. Use the information, and when you send it out, expect bad feedback. You don't want all good feedback. We kind of hammer that in the handbook. Like, you want bad feedback. You want critical feedback. If you get all great marks and everything else coming back from your beta testers,
they're not being truthful with you.
Yeah, you achieve nothing by doing it.
And also, I mean, like, this part or this project or this whatever, it's not your full identity. You're still you're still a human, you're still a dad or mom or wife or husband, whatever. But like, it's something that you're trying to bring to more than just yourself.
Yeah.
And it's going to be in hopefully tens of thousands, if not more, of people's hands that are all going to use it differently in their own way, in their own setting, in their own life, and stuff's going to happen. Their kids are going to knock it off the shelf, or their helper is at work is going to mishandle it, or something like that. And so if you're getting that feedback early on, you're asking people to put their money towards something that they're going to put their trust in or their investment in, and they want to be able to justify it to everybody around their life. So it's like, it's a shorthand for getting a lot of that product development in a way that makes the product better done in an early fashion.
When you're sending out parts, do you have a set like group for like new products, or do you always switch it up?
I don't have a set group, and here's why. Long term, nobody's going to stay with you the entire duration. People are going to go out of business. People are going to switch hobbies. People are going to do different stuff. They may not be in close enough proximity. Like the grower I want to send the most stuff to, they're in Hawaii. The shipping's outrageous. The time is outrageous. He's super busy. Other times we've sent beta stuff out, and it's, again, they're trying to modify it in a way, or they're not, or they'll get it, and instead of calling us to verify that everything's right, or they're not giving us full information as we're setting stuff up over the phone, they'll do something without the lid on, or they won't hook something up, or they, like, all of this stuff has happened to us, and it makes beta testing more than a one-shot deal.
So it's just a hope and a prayer that the ones you send.
Dude. And a lot of times we have I'm just going to call it an appliance of sorts. It's a washer for the stuff that you make for us. We would send it to one, and then we would ask them to ship to somebody else. So now you also act like you're asking people to do you favors.
Yeah.
And this particular part is $5,000. So no, you can't keep it, man. I mean, it's a prototype that I've got to get to other people's hands.
But if you really liked it,
we'll cut you. I mean, you got to take care of your beta testers. They do get discounts. They do get first run shots and stuff like that, and little care packages and things. But it's also one of those things where we want to talk about cost. That's a cost.
Yeah.
Because you have this one-off.
I feel like that's a death by a million paper cuts type thing.
It's a long, arduous process.
Yeah.
Just to decide who you're going to choose, and then they're almost universally excited they get to test it, and then they almost inherently do it wrong, or they get busy, or something happens, and it takes way longer than it should. It's always about halfway done of what it needs to be, and the feedback often shows that they so grossly misunderstood the whole purpose of the product that the test was a bad test, which is going to be your buyers.
Your products are very specific, but I might ask, have you ever sent a beta tester something and they did use it for something else that you guys then capitalized on?
Not that I recall. They've given feedback that's certainly changed the design, the thumb holes for one.
Oh, yeah.
Also keep in mind that anytime you make a change, half the people are really going to like it and half the people are not.
Oh, like the thumb holes?
You're never going to make everybody happy.
Yeah.
We also have a product that is very hard to make. It's very hard to get accomplished, and almost universally people use it wrong. We have something called a humidity dome, and it sits on top of a tray, and for the first 3 or 4 days it builds up a little bit of warmth and humidity to help germinate seeds. Well, people want to use it as a mini greenhouse. Also, our main clientele are people that are growing 10 or more, sometimes 100 or so trays every single week. Some of them need domes, a lot of them need domes, and because that's our clientele, and because this is not a mini greenhouse, the lids sit loosely on top, so you could look, check, whatever, lift it up, water, whatever. If it were to snap, it would add an hour or two a day worth of labor to our main client that we make this for. Also, anybody else that just has to check one or two, it's still functionality and it still does the job. It doesn't have to be airtight.
Right.
But sometimes we'll send a commercial farming product to somebody that's growing a couple of trays for their home. They'll set it in their dining room over their wood table or wood floor. Well, I got water dripping. Yeah, you're watering plants. And yeah, there's going to be water associated. Well, this thing should snap. It shouldn't, because that's not the purpose of it.
Yeah.
It's the product that we get the most flack on, but we can't make it another way. It doesn't need it, and then it would hinder our main clientele.
Yeah.
And if it was Tupperware, that type of snap,
Your tolerance.
you don't need it. It doesn't make any sense.
Well, and then your tolerance from the manufacturing side, it would be such a pain in the butt.
It's impossible. Given that one of our trays should be thought of as a family product, it's like that's the base, and we have all these different inserts that all do different things for all types of growers and all types of crops, and to make that fit, like you said, it would be impossible. It's just not necessary.
Yeah.
So that's a misunderstanding, and I don't know what we would possibly have to. It's on the website, it's on the listing, it's in every video that we do. We've talked about it ad nauseum. It's in all of our blog posts. It doesn't snap. It's not. Here's why. This thing doesn't snap. I can't.
And why does everybody have that mentality that it needs to snap?
Beginner assumptions.
And I guess the ones that you replaced have a little bit of snap, maybe.
No.
Those didn't either, huh?
None of them snap. But first year growers think it needs to snap.
It looks like it should snap. It
Maybe
looks like Tupperware.
It's not.
It's not.
The other thing that the feedback that really sucks, because it hurts the brand, because people shop reviews. Oh, this thing has 20 one-star reviews. What's the problem? And you look at those 21 stars. This was too expensive. Mm-hmm. Well, don't buy it. This got lost in freight. That has nothing to do with the product, nothing to do with us. It's a third-party carrier. It's got to get to you some. I can't personally deliver it. We get the ding on that. So it's like you're getting feedback that is based off of their financial situation.
It's a bell curve, right?
Yeah, man.
You're going to have feedback, you're going to have outliers, and all the stuff you're going to use is in that bell curve.
You know, and we've been poking a little fun at engineers, all in good fun, but engineers giving feedback is the most obnoxious to me, because it's their whole life is lived within a thousandth of an inch.
Yeah.
And everything in farming is like, you got a lot of wiggle room. You have to, because of the variability from farm to farm, crop to crop, season to season, and they cannot stand it. This needs to be this needs to be that.
Yeah.
I'm gonna end it bad. I'll tell you what, it happens every single time. I'll send you. They'll do an initial reach out, and they're say, I have these 4 or 5 problems. I'll write you up a whole thing as to what I would do, and we never get it.
Really?
All the time.
I'd love to see it.
Yeah, so would I, but it never comes.
Huh. Didn't you have one write some new instructions for you?
Oh yeah, that was handy.
Yeah.
Yeah, thanks.
Did you use it?
No. No, man, because
it was an engineer.
Because it was an engineer.
Like, it was an engineering document, probably.
If another engineer needed instructions, they would have been fine. Yeah. But I'm talking a greenhouse in particular on this. These greenhouses can be 30 foot wide, 16 foot tall, 100 feet long, 120 foot long. That's our biggest one. Mm-hmm. And we have to make these things for anybody and everybody to put up. So you've never built anything, you barely own any tools, you've never done anything like this before. I have to ship it to you. Yeah. Which has its own restraints. And everything was designed around strength, shipping, does the job it needs to do. And as long as those happen, we have to build instruction manuals so somebody that doesn't own a hammer can do it after they go buy a hammer. Right. Or a contractor can do it. Contractors are rough too, because you'll get a bunch of people that do wood framing. All of a sudden, they're bolting together a wood structure. We've had people call it, this whole thing should be welded. It shouldn't, because it would snap, because that's rigid and it has to flex in the wind. You're basically putting up a structure that has a lot of wind load,
Right.
and it has to flex. And so if you welded it, the welds would break and the thing would fall down. So no, you can't do that.
And how are you going to ship it?
Exactly. Ship it. I was supposed to send a welder with this thing. So you have to assume that bell curve, like you said, it's going to come from a place where they're not thinking big picture. They're not thinking at scale. And some people just want to not be happy with something.
Yeah.
And we ship so many boxes a day. A box or two is going to get lost once a week.
Sure.
And we're also adhering to those shippers' rules and regulations on how they process a lost package, process a return, process a claim. We have to get information, or try and attempt to get information from the client as to, okay, your box showed up damaged. They need a picture so we can file a claim. We're going to ship you your stuff. We're going to take care of you. Will you help us out a little bit so we can at least recoup that cost? You have to. And so, but the social media stuff that you mentioned earlier, it's almost always price. It's never somebody that's actually buying from us. It's an open forum, and right there in front of everybody publicly, these are too expensive. We've never used it.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're pricier than what you could get at the store, but also people love to compare our stuff to Solo cups. Like, I can start seeds in Solo cups or egg cartons or this, that, and the other. Have at it. But our stuff is like made for people to do this as a very serious hobby. They're homesteaders trying to feed their family, and they need equipment that's purpose-built that's going to be there week after week, or they're professional farmers.
Yeah.
I mean, Solo cups, all a group of people, they're trying to like be eco-conscious and do the right thing by the earth. We're making products that are reusable for years. A Solo cup's not going to make it 6 months.
No.
And sure, somebody's being like, I've used a Solo cup for the last 3 years, because you're babying it. Farmers are not gentle people, man. We beat the hell out of everything.
Throw shit all over the place.
Drop it,
Yeah.
lose it.
Take it all in, right? Take it all in, but pick and choose. No, there's going to be some people that just like watching the world burn.
How about this? If you're an inventor and you're listening to this and you're like, surely not, go to your favorite whatever. National parks are hysterical. State parks are great. You can go to a state park.
I was gonna say, just go on any Facebook page of anything.
On maps, you can go to a national park. There's reviews from Yelp. It's hysterical. The trails weren't. There was mud on the trail. You're outside.
My favorite review ever was a sewage plant. It just said, "Very nice view. Would come again." 5 stars.
That's somebody trolling.
That's my new thing. Is I've started looking at reviews for the most random stuff, dude.
All right, don't complain to me about how tired you are if this is what you're doing with your spare time. But look, it goes to the point where you got trolls that are gonna do stuff like that. It's not even counted. You're gonna get people that are upset with FedEx. You're gonna get people that are using your stuff wrong a lot.
Yeah.
And you just gotta take it with a grain of salt. Well, these are not my clients, really. At the end of the day.
Yeah, they'll be one and done for you. That's all right.
Yeah,
that's all
at least
right.
they bought it.
Yeah, help you pay for your tool.
It also comes down to, like, most of the time, negative feedback is within, to your point, the context in which they're using it that you have no control over.
Mm-hmm.
And it does help you figure out, if I'm going to build a part, it is going to be used 100 different ways. How do I build it in such a way that it kind of covers most of everybody's needs?
Mm-hmm.
And it may be pretty different than what you originally designed for your very specific reason that you came up with this product.
Yeah, that's why I was curious if you guys ever had a part that you kind of went through that. I'm sure I'm selling airline parts, airline serving trays to somebody that's using it for who knows what, you know?
Oh, I mean, that's a great thing about our friendship. You usually send me airline trays that I could put on my rack so my stuff doesn't fall through the little holes. Yeah,
That's right.
So that's all I'm using you for.
trying to think. We did have somebody buy them for something, and I cannot remember, but it was the craziest thing. People are going to buy it and use it however they want, and it doesn't matter as long as your core customer base is happy. That's all you should be worried about at the end of the day.
And at some point, the decision is going to have to be made. The tool is going to be made. Your parts are going to come. They are what they are.
Mm-hmm.
You got to at some point, you just got to let some of that go and move on.
Yeah, and maybe you don't read the comments if to the point, to an extent. Maybe you have a marketing guy or somebody gather all the information, because that can get overwhelming.
It is a good way to take the pulse of your group of people. So if we put a post out and there's 20 comments out of 100 that are all universally saying something pretty negative, that's worth looking into. Are we doing this right? Is there something we can do? Oftentimes that comes around a change. We had a tool update. These things don't fit like they used to. Yeah, it's a little bit different because it's a different part.
Yeah.
And if you bought a car 40 years ago, it didn't have seat belts. Things change. Things get better.
They didn't have DUIs back then either.
Yeah. But you can't just continue. You can't not change and make your product better in future iterations. Molds wear out. You're going to have to change this eventually. That's the time to make some adjustments and some improvements. But you better make sure that if it's a fit situation, you got to make sure it's right.
Yeah. If it's an anything situation, you better have some explanation too. It doesn't matter why you're changing it. But that comes with marketing. You're going to do that anyway. You're just going to naturally do that. You're going to build the anticipation for, hey, our next generation of whatever you're making is coming out. So you're doing product blasts and marketing campaigns. And
we've talked a lot about every decision is a compromise of some. We're either going to compromise quality, cost, speed, reliability, whatever. But you get this feedback and you may take it and go, okay, I'm going to choose to look at this negative feedback, look at how they would do it, and ignore it because I do believe I have the vision to see this thing through to who I'm actually wanting to sell this for. Or I think once they use it more and kind of get used to it, that this will be. That should also come with probably more extensive testing on your side to really prove it out. But it should not be a full stop.
Yeah, and one last thing, the feedback on the manufacturer side and the customer side are going to be completely
Vastly
different.
Yeah.
So you're going to be functionality and mold and manufacturability on the manufacturer side, and on the customer side, it's, well, this doesn't look right, or that's not how I'd want this to look. It's going to be that one is more personal, a lot more emotion.
Because you're arguing with somebody who just doesn't get it.
Yeah.
And you can't do it, man. You cannot argue with these folks.
You can. You'll be up all night.
It's not productive. At the end of the day, it's just going to drive you crazy. So you got to learn to take feedback for what it is. We've mentioned gut checks when talking to and vetting injection molders. You got to gut check. Is this valid? Is it not? Am I taking this the wrong way?
Usually it's pretty obvious if it's valid or not. If there is a lot of emotion in it, or if it's just this is dumb, you'll get those. Again, emotion, that's kind of emotion though too. So if it's very emotional and non-pragmatic, then throw it out.
Good advice. Next episode, we're going to talk about why delays cost more than mistakes and how to avoid some of those and really pay attention to what's going on in and around your business from all sides of the equation. We'll see you then.